This is the Senior Director of Government Affairs at the National Taxpayers Union. That would be Tommy Aiello. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
First of all, put into context for us how major it is to have a rescissions package like this signed. This is a once-in-a-generation kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is. This is the first time that the House and Senate have passed a rescissions bill. That's in 30 years. That is an unbelievable statistic. The last time it happened was under President Clinton. So we're really happy that the bill was able to get across the finish line very early this morning, and we're expecting the president to sign it very soon.
You know, so much is going to be put on the fact that $9 billion is being saved. But is the figure important, or is it more important about the message that it sends, that fraud, waste, and abuse will not be tolerated and that it will be refunded to the American taxpayer?
Yeah, anytime we're talking and taking action to save taxpayer dollars is a good thing. So yes, $9 billion in the grand scheme of a $2 trillion budget deficit, it's not a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's a step in the right direction. And, since the House passed the rescissions bill on June 12th, we've added $400 billion to our debt. That's $11 billion a day just in new debt. So look, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but I'm really hopeful that this could be the start of how we get and restore fiscal sanity in the United States.
And more importantly, can this be a start of a trend, seeing more rescission bills coming down the pike?
Yeah, I think that was the whole purpose of this rescissions bill. It was supposed to be a trial balloon. The administration sent it over to see if the House and Senate were serious about saving money. Obviously, they are. So I'm really confident that on the other side of the August recess, the administration will send many more packages. And the way we look at it is that's one part of a holistic approach for how we get our fiscal house in order. Rescissions packages, economic growth through tax cuts and deregulation, which was a major part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and then the normal appropriations process that's happening right now. This is when Congress decides where they're going to spend your money on the different departments for the next fiscal year. So that process is ongoing. I'm very confident and hopeful that the Congress will spend less money next year than they did this year. It's a small step, but taken together, it can make a significant difference.
Tommy, you used the term holistic approach, which really caught my attention, because I would imagine that part of that holistic approach is, yes, making sure that fraud, waste, and abuse is not part of our system, but also cutting spending and making sure that lawmakers are better fiscal stewards of the taxpayer dollar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way we're seeing right now in the Appropriations Committee chaired by Congressman Tom Cole of Oklahoma, they are moving bills that spend less than last year, lock in a lot of the DOGE cuts. We're seeing that for the Department of Energy, Transportation, and Department of Housing and Urban Development. They're going to spend about $10 billion less this year, next year than this year. Of course, we need 60 votes in the Senate to lock that in. Hopefully, the Democrats will play ball and save some money, but we'll have to see if they want to play with us.
And another part of this conversation is long term when it comes to spending bills and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, Congress has for too long kicked the can down the road, passed CRs and that kind of thing. Do you think this sort of move, this victory, if you will inspire Congress to act a bit more decisively when it comes to funding our government?
I really hope so. I mentioned that we're running a $2 trillion a year deficit. That is a significant amount of money, and it's part of the reason we've gotten to about $37 trillion in debt. So one thing that we're looking at is, one, the establishment of a fiscal commission to see, one, what are the main drivers of debt and what are some bipartisan solutions we can take to address it. And then two, we should party like it's 2019 again. We should return to pre-COVID spending levels. That means reducing discretionary spending on things like the Department of Education, the military, and all these other departments back to pre-COVID levels, which would save about $400 billion a year. And of course, we need to address some of the entitlement spending that really is on autopilot, and that's the main driver of our debt. That's Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security.
You mentioned a fiscal commission. How would that work? How do you envision that?
Sure. So there's already been legislation introduced in the House that would say, hey, let's create a bipartisan commission. Let's see, one, where we're spending our money, where is there waste, how can we tackle our deficits? So it would bring all these stakeholders to the table, and they would look at various solutions to address it, whether it's cutting spending, how can we reform entitlements, how can we reform discretionary spending. They would come up with a solution, a report, and Congress can take an up or down vote on such a report. We think that one takes the political nature of a commission out of the process. That way we can really just focus on a handful of solutions that can structurally reform how we spend money.
Sounds like a reasonable idea. Do you see that floating with Congress members or anyone really on Capitol Hill? They like to make the decisions, particularly when it comes to spending our money, on their own.
Yeah, they love to spend money, but they're not so keen on clawing back some of the money. And I think that's what makes this rescissions package really so historic. And of course, it's $9 billion. It's, how we devour a whale is one bite at a time. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to see more rescissions packages come through to the House and the Senate, and that will hopefully receive more support in the coming months.
We shall see. We'll obviously be monitoring here on Real America's Voice. Tommy Aiello, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.